Good afternoon, guys. This is your video on page 13 of your notebook. So we're going to be doing least common multiples, or also known as LCM. So least common multiple is the smallest multiple that two numbers or more than two numbers share in common. One method, which we've talked about already, is you just use a list. Number one, you list several multiples of each number. Step 2, find the smallest multiple that they have in common. And step 3, if you cannot find LCM, just continue listing the multiples. So for example, find the LCM of 3 and 5. So multiples of 3, well, 3 times 1 is 3, times 2 is 6, times 3 is 9, times 4 is 12, times 5 is 15. Multiples of 5. Times 1 is 5, times 2 is 10, times 3 is 15, times 4 is 20, times 5 is 25, and I can keep going if I need to. But I actually can stop here because I noticed that 15 was a number they both share in common, and it's the smallest number they both share in common. So my LCM, my least common multiple, is 15 for numbers 3 and 5. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is method 2, using prime factorization. You can write the prime factorization of each number in exponential form. I'm going to zoom it in just a little bit. You can write down all the bases that appear in each prime factorization. If they appear in both, only write them once. Write the highest power exponent for each of the bases, and then multiply the expression to get LCM. This way is a little bit more challenging, but some people like it, so that's why I'm going to explain it. So the LCM of 12 and 15. So I found the exponential notation for 12, which is 2 squared times 3. And I found the exponential notation for 15, which is 3 times 5. Then what I do is I write down all the factors that they have, and if it repeats, I only write it once. So I wrote 2 squared. Since they both have 3, I'm just going to write it right here, and then I'm going to write 5. And 2 squared times 3 times 5 gives me 60, so their LCM is 60. Again, it's a little confusing, but we'll practice it. So right here, we're going to actually practice these two ways using a list, and this way we're going to practice with prime factorization. So let's do 10 and 15, and we're just going to make a list going across horizontally. So 10 times 1 is 10, times 2 is 20, 10 times 3 is 30, 10 times 4 is 40, 10 times 5 is 50, times 6 is 60, and I'm just going to put dot, 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 because maybe I need to keep going, or maybe I have enough. Now let's do 15. So 15 times 1 is 15, times 2 is 30, times 3 is 45, times 4 is 60, and again I'm just going to put dot, dot, dot. Now I did notice some numbers that they shared in common. Okay, I noticed that they both had 30. They both have 60. But for least common multiple, remember least common multiple, least stands for smallest, so of these two that they share in common, which one's the smallest? The 30. So 30 is actually going to be the number that I choose, and I'm going to highlight that. Okay, so that's one way to do it. Another way to do a list is vertically, and I think this way is another way to kind of keep your stuff organized. So we're going to do 14 and 12. It almost looks like a T-chart. All right, so multiples of 14. Well, 14 times 1 is 14, times 2 is 28, times 3 is 42, times 4 is, so I'm going to add 14 to that, so 56, and then 70, 84, 98, I'm going to stop there. All right, I'm going to list my multiples of 12. 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, 72, 84, and I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to see if I have anything in common. And I think I said a number twice. 84. Is it the smallest number they both share in common? It is. So my LCM for 12 and 14 is 84. All right, my LCM for 8 and 6. So let's do the prime factorization. So 8 is 4 times 2. So this is something you guys practiced the other day. And 4 is 2 times 2. So my prime factorization for 8 is 2 times 2 times 2, or 2 cubed. My prime factorization for 6 is 2 times 3. So 2 times 3. So my LCM is going to be all the factors, but if something repeats, we don't write it again. So this 2 and this 2, we're just going to write it once. So we used those. Since this 3 isn't the same as anything else, we're going to write it. This 2 and this 2 also are going to get used. So 2 times 3 times 2 times 3, so that's 6, 4, 6 and 4 make 24. So the LCM for 8 and 6 is 24. Again, this is probably my least favorite way to do it, because I feel like it's a little confusing, but if you like it, stick with it. All right. And then the third method is on the inside, so let's go on the inside of our notebook. Using a Venn diagram. So yesterday you guys used Venn diagrams for GCF. Today we're going to use it for LCM. If you remember from yesterday's notes, we actually used 12 and 18. Well, we're going to use them again. So 12, if I break it down, my prime factorization is 2 times 2 times 3. 18, my prime factorization is 2 times 3 times 3. And then remember, you put what they have in common in the middle, which is also known as their GCF. So let's actually remind ourselves of that. So G, C, F. And then to get LCM, this is what's cool. Just take your highlighter or pen or pencil or whatever, circle all of it. All of these numbers, if I multiply them, give me my LCM. So 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. So the Venn diagram actually does two things. It gives me my GCF in the middle, and it gives me my LCM when it's all of the numbers. So that's why I really like the Venn diagram, because it does two things at once. So let's practice with these two numbers. So I'm going to do a prime factorization of 8. I'm going to do it kind of small. So 2 and 4, and that gives me 2 and 2. So let's circle our primes. And let's do 12. So 2 and 6. That's 2 and 3. All right, let's make our Venn diagram. I know it's kind of small. I'm sorry about that. All right, let's put what they have in common in the middle. So this guy's 8, this has a 2, and this has a 2. So let's put a 2 in the middle. This has a 2 and another 2, so let's put another 2 in the middle. They have nothing else in common, because that's a 2 and that's a 3. So let's put the 2 in over here for 8. And then let's put a 3 in over here for 12. So the GCF is 4, but the LCM, let me use my highlighter, is all of these multiplied together. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 3 is 24. Cool, huh? It does both of them at the same time. All right, let's do 9 and 15. So let's break down 9. And let's break down 15. Those are pretty easy, huh? All right, let's make our Venn diagram. You only put in the middle what they share in common. So this has a 3 and this has a 3, so let's put 3 in the middle. They share nothing else in common, so let's put the 3 over here for the 9, and let's put the 5 over here for 15. I always forget to label it first. I'm sorry about that. All right, so the GCF is that guy right there in the middle. And the LCM is all of them multiplied together. So 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 5 gives me 45. So again, this gives you 2 answers. All right, so I want you guys to practice these 2 on your own. And I'm going to show you one other way. So this is a 4th method. Now some of you don't like ladder, but ladder's pretty cool when it comes to LCM. So you make an L in the shape for both numbers this time, so you're actually doing a double ladder. You pull out what they both have in common, so they both have a 3. And then you break it down, so 12 divided by 3 is 4, 15 divided by 3 is 5. And then you keep going until you pull out a 1. So right here, we're just going to stop and pull out a 1. Then what you can do is you bring down the 4 and 5. And then what you do is you get to kind of make like an L for like least common multiple and multiply all those numbers. It's super cool. So 3 times 1 is 3, times 4 is 12, and 12 times 5 is 60. So the LCM is 60. So let's practice that right here. So 6 and 8. What's the smallest prime factor that we can pull out for both? 2. So this gives me 3. This gives me 4. What do they both share in common? A 1. So this gives me 3. This gives me 4. Once you reach 1, you're done. So look at step 5. Once you reach 1, you're done. So it rhymes. And then what you get to do, I'm going to kind of highlight it in blue. You get to multiply. Kind of makes an L. Isn't that cool? For least common multiple. So you get to multiply 2 times 1 times 3 times 4. 2 times 1 is 2. And 2 times 3 is 6. And 6 times 4 gives me 24. So my least common multiple is 24. All right, let's do 8 and 12. All right, what's the smallest prime factor that they both share in common? A 2. So that gives me 4 and 6. What is the smallest prime factor that they both share in common? A 2. So that gives me 2 and 3. And then what factor do they both share in common? A 1. And again, once you reach 1, you're done. And then you get to make your L shape. And then you get to multiply them. So 2 times 2 times 1 times 2 times 3. I'm just multiplying in the L. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. And 8 times 3 is 24. All right, and then the rest of your homework is to do number 3. So these 2 questions over here, do with the Venn diagram, and this 3rd question, do with the ladder method. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and again, if you want to give me any kind of feedback, please do. Just make sure that it is respectful and kind, and just ask questions tomorrow in class. All right, have a great night.